What would change in the world if you, me, and everyone choose to feed the wolf of possibilities instead of the one of doubt, distrust, and despair? The way I see it, our point of view creates reality, not the other way around. Somewhere deep within, I think we know that. In this podcast, I am daring you to claim this remarkable superpower. Join us and be inspired by trackers, explorers, and finders of possibilities from the multiverse of hope. Welcome to the podcast, Feeding the Wolf of Possibilities, with your host, Katarina Wallentin. Welcome to this episode of Feeding the Wolf of Possibilities. And my guest today is Susanna Mittermaier. She's a psychologist and the founder of the specialty Pragmatic Psychology. She's written several books, including the best-selling Pragmatic Psychology. And she currently lives outside Vienna in Austria, but spends a lot of time, when there's not a pandemic, traveling all over the world as a keynote speaker and a workshop facilitator. And Susanna is someone I admire deeply for her uncanny ability to transform people's and really anything, any problem and difficulty into possibilities and powerful choices. So basically, Susanna and the Wolf of Possibilities are like best buddies already from the beginning, before we even start. So with that introduction, let's dive right in. So, Susanna, hello.
Hey, Katarina. So good to be here with you.
Thank you. And my first question is actually, have you always seen possibilities instead of problems ever since you were a kid?
Well, that would, I would have to remember. I don't know how far I, at this point, can remember back into, the past. But yeah, there's always been this in my world. I must admit, for a long time, I thought people were kidding when they were talking about their problems. I thought they were going, oh yeah, but ha ha ha, it was just a joke. But that's how weird I've been from the beginning coming into this world, probably. And there have been times when I played the game that other people played, like the sad game or the normal game or the, making yourself small game. And so there's always been like this both, this one side of, hey, there is joy and glory is a reality that we all have available. And at the same time, maybe I should, hold back. Maybe I should pretend to be a little bit normal. Maybe maybe people like me more, or maybe, things work out better, but they never did. So, yeah.
Well, it's funny because I looked up before, the podcast started, I looked up what psychology is defined as. So psychology is the science of mind and behavior and the study of the conscious and unconscious and feelings and thoughts. And somehow, if you were in that space where, you knew there were ease, joy, and glory, but you couldn't figure out why everybody else was functioning from problems, maybe that was one of the reasons why you even started to study psychology.
It is so funny, totally. And it's like trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. And I think that's like what most people who are different do. They're like, what is going on here? This is a strange planet. Let me try to understand. And like this attempt to understand, actually, that didn't work out so well. Because trying to understand things just keeps us caught up in the insanity rather than being what we are, which is beyond it already, and yeah, but it's funny. That's funny that you point that out. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then you took that, you became a psychologist, and then you took that and you created your own modality out of it called Pragmatic Psychology. So what is that? What does Pragmatic Psychology mean?
That is actually when you are, rather than being dramatic, you are pragmatic. So pragmatic is doing what works. Dramatic is, worrying why things are not as good as you think they should be, or trying to get things better, or, getting lost in feelings and emotions and looking for cause and solutions. Pragmatic is, okay, it is what it is. This is what's going on. What can we do with it? For example, using questions to turning what seems like a problem into a possibility, and like changing the direction of what is now. And with that, also changing your future and the direction of your future and where things are going and heading towards. And that's like doing what works. And, most people are so focused on doing it right and getting things right or getting things better as they are now. And functioning from, okay, I have to go from what's bad to what's good, or I have to stay with what's good, oh my God, I'm good for once. I have to keep this. But that's like this constant dramatic, oh my God, I have to, the judgment thing is navigating people's worlds. But then pragmatic and doing what works is where it's not about doing what's right, but it's doing what works.
Yeah. So it's interesting because a lot of people still, strangely to me, thrive on drama and trauma, and it kind of gives their lives, meaning and energy and all of that. So how do they react when you introduce this pragmatic element into your sessions?
Differently. So some of them were, receiving this relief of, oh, there's something that I could use that's actually easier, that works. And some of them, like not all of them were welcoming it, because it's like there's this, I gotta say, there's this, how do you say, pride in complexity. What's the word?
Complexity.
Complexity. Yeah. Like the pride in complexity. And when things are difficult and when things are hard to figure out, or, oh, I have to work hard to change them. Oh, then I've done a great job. And, I've really done a great job. I'm a good person. And so it's like the simplicity, like pragmatic is also where there's an element of simplicity to it that is not valued in our world. Simplicity is not valued. It's like complexity is like, oh, I'm working hard. That's, I've done my job. But simplicity, that is something that is also, what if this could be valuable, And
it's funny because I remember having a boyfriend who would get so angry with me because I kept, trying to show him possibilities of different things. And he continuously saw the glass as half empty. And I always saw the glass as half full. But it was the same darn glass we were looking at, but we looked at it completely different. And he really used to get very, very frustrated with my like annoying, stubborn. But what if we looked at it this way? And what if we did this? And what if so that's why I was asking, like, how do people actually react? Because one of the things I find with this whole possibility, when you're introducing the idea that maybe even looking for possibilities will create the possibilities, people do seem not always to receive it in joy.
Definitely. And there's this one, part of people that go, oh my God, thank you so much. I always knew this, but nobody has ever said it. And now you say it, and this relaxes me. It acknowledges that I'm not crazy. I'm just different. And then there's these other people who go, oh my God, like you say, like being annoyed at how can you even, say that things could be ease, joy, and glory, that's just annoying. So definitely both.
I know that you used to work at a psychiatry department in Lund. How did you use these tools there, and how was that received?
Yeah, I did. So first, when I discovered, like the thing is that how it started was the way I was trained from university was one thing, but then, applying this to real life, I gotta say, it's like everything is different. Everything is, and we all know this when we study things, we're like, oh, okay, life is very different. And so it got me to go, okay, there's something else there. I mean, there's something else that works even greater than what I've ever, been studying. And so with, asking questions and meeting all these people with wrongness here and there and diagnosis here and there, I'm like, it can't be that there's so many people on this planet who are supposedly wrong and insane. That just like, no, that can't be what is, So I kept wondering, like, what is this thing that people call disease and insanity? And so I would, have these questions in the back of my head every time I would meet people who are different. And it was amazing because the thing that seemed so like was supposedly wrong about them was actually this difference, this way of seeing the world different, this way of functioning different. So I started to explore, and also with the tools of access consciousness, I started to explore, hey, how can things be done differently? And I was very excited because me using these tools, because I used myself as a guinea pig first, it changed everything for me. It changed my whole life. And so then I used them with my patients, and I was so excited. I was so excited that I had this, I got to tell everybody, I got to tell the world, there's an ease available that nobody has ever told us about. Like, this is the best kept secret in the whole universe, that all of life truly comes to us with ease and joy and glory. Like, what? And so I'm like, try to tell everybody. I didn't try, I actually told as many people as possible, which was not a good idea, So, we all know that when we find something that's amazing, we want to tell the world, and that's not pragmatic. I learned that that doesn't work. So, and again, I had some people who went, oh my God, thank you so much. And some of them that were really angry at how can you. So then a very good friend of mine, who is also the founder of Access Consciousness, Gary Douglas, because I phoned him. I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible. And he said, well, I'm going to tell you something. There's a tool. It's called Just for Me, Just for Fun, Never Tell Anyone. And I'm like, oh, okay. Not telling anyone. So I had to practice to shut up, which was really hard. But then so when I managed to shut up, and when I managed to just celebrate, the joy for me, not having to share it with other people, but just like really just for me, just for fun, never tell anyone, everything changed. Everything changed. And I had more ease, using the tools with my patients. And it's also the people around me, my colleagues, started to be interested. They started to ask questions. Hey, how come you have these results with your patients? What are you doing different? I started to become very pragmatic there too, because I was like, okay, so what can I tell them? What can they hear? That way, it was amazing how things changed, and it actually worked.
It's a great question, that question, a pragmatic question. What can they hear? What can they receive? And you and I are actually both contributors to this anthology called The Very Greatest Adventures, You Truly Being You. And in that book, one of my favorite stories is one of yours called Are You Going to a Party? And would you tell that story? Because it's such a great example of how you can inspire possibility where there seemingly is none.
Yeah. So that was when I was working in the psychiatric ward. That's an inpatient ward. I think that's the English word, where people stay over and for weeks and months. And, those buildings are usually not very nurturing ones, building wise, like I remember were plastic floors. People, like the patients, were not allowed to go outside. So they had to be inside for, days and weeks, and felt depressed already. And, how it is when people have depression and all kinds of other diagnoses. It's like, they stop caring about themselves. They stop caring about their bodies. And so what I did every morning before I went to work was, that's something I learned to do, is asking my body, hey, what would you like to wear? And my body, like at that time, loved to wear satin dresses and high heels, which for a psychiatric ward is very strange. Because, we didn't have, like at that particular ward, we didn't have any, white uniforms or anything, which is usually in other countries. But there, people had their own personal clothes that they could wear. And so, I asked my body every day, what would you like to wear? My body went, well, this satin dress and these high heels. And I went, body, you do know that we're going to work. And so are you sure that this is something we're going to wear? And my body went, yeah, definitely. We're, this is a celebration. We're, every day is a celebration. So I went there with my, these kind of clothes, and my colleagues, they made comments. They, made comments out loud. And also, I could, you can feel when people have points of view about you. And so one day, someone's asking, so, why are you dressed that way? Are you going to a party? And I'm like, well, this is the party, if not, why be here? And so that was something that my body was really amazing, showing me, hey, why not celebrate? Why wait for a celebration to wear something that is, making you feel good? So anyway, so I did this, every day, ask my body, da da da. And then one day there was this woman, peeking out of her room, and she said, Susanna, can you come in? And I said, sure. So we went into her room, and she said, hey, this was a woman who has been depressed for ages, for a really long time. And she really stopped caring about herself and her body and everything. And, and so she asked, Susanna, can you tell me, does this blouse work with these pants? And I'm like, wow. So this was a woman who hadn't been caring about her body, who basically had given up on herself. And she asked this question with the start of caring for her body again and wanting to be nice and kind to her body, which sounds like a little step, but in these people's worlds, it's actually a huge step. This consideration of your body again, this, okay, you know what? I want to feel good again. I want to make that choice for me and my life and my body. And then this continued. There were more and more of these patients who were going, hey, asking for styling tips, winning, oh, does this work with this? Does this color work with that color? And so, if we would have, if there would have been a word for best dressed, psychiatry word, this word would have won it. So this is what's possible for us when we are different. This is what's possible for us when we are being us, when we don't, worry about conformity or being normal or what's good or what do other people expect from us. But what do I know? What do I know creates the future, even if it's weird, even if it's strange.
Now, my mom was a psychologist, and one of the things she used to say was that it was very hard to be a psychologist with your own family, to psychologize basically your own family. It was much easier with others. So what's your sense when you use the pragmatic psychology, for building your family and for, developing possibilities
right
there?
That's a great question, because I never thought about that until you asked now. It's funny because this, like, the pragmatic psychology is very much where I actually use the tools from me in my life as well. Like, there's no separation of I'm just using it on my clients, because for me, it's about walking your talk. It's like you be it, you embody it, you live it, and then it's not about the words you convey, it's about what you be. It's about the inspiration you be with, being possibilities, living and being ease, joy, and glory. And that way, people can feel it, they can sense it, they go, okay, wow, that. And then, words and tools are great additions to whatever. So that way, because it's something that I really am diligent with myself to expand every day with my life, it's something that just floats like through and is part of everything, of the relationships I create, of the business, of everything, so that's how it's like part of it. And I have the fortune of having people around me, like my partner Jürgen, who is like, he's interested in this. Like, we can have these conversations about possibilities, or he can tell me, hey, when he sees something that triggers me, he asks me about it, or I ask him about it. There's this not needing to be perfect and not needing to arrive somewhere, but like this vulnerability of, hi, here I am, what's up, what's possible today, what would we like to create?
You've integrated the psychology.
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah.
And one of your latest books is actually called Fairy Tale Family, right? And in the description of that one, you write, when family no longer is a source of worry and suffering, but the playground of possibilities, what future would that open up? And I was thinking maybe we could end today with you, if you could give them one tool that they could use, to get out of the perfection, for example, with their family. Like, what would that be?
Oh my goodness. So one of the tools would be to like have no expectation of what, the relationship with someone, your family or whoever should look like no form, no structure, no significance, like letting go of the expectation and the point of view how this relationship should be, or what it, how it should look like, or what it should look like to be a good one, or how it should not look like to be a bad one. But like this discovery every day, hi person, whoever that is, what's possible with you today? What can we create today? And this could look however it looks like, whether you spend the day alone or you spend the day together, or choose in every moment, okay, so what creates more ease for us now? Okay, next moment, what creates more ease for us now? And well, there's so much to it now. We could talk days about this.
No,
but yeah,
it's a great tool. And what came up for me is also what the relationship mean. Like, stop having expectations of what all these relationships, to our mom, to our dad, to our kids, to our enjoyable other, what they mean and what they should mean and what they don't mean and what they can't mean, and all of that. Like, to be willing to have that undefined, no expectations, no judgments, that would definitely change it. And as you're saying, to have that question every day, it could be something new. Because I think that's where a lot of our families solidify into very solid constructions that we then can only move within the little square we've been assigned into the family. So it's like what you're suggesting, it kind of dissolves all those little squares that we put ourselves in and we put everyone around us in.
Yeah. And then we can be surprised about, oh, I didn't see that part in that person. I didn't see that this was possible with that person. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And if they would like to find out more about Pragmatic Psychology or find your fairy tale family book or anything like that, where do they go?
Well, they can go to either susannamittermaier.com or pragmaticpsychology.com.
So if this inspired any curiosity in you about how to actually just be with what is and change it into a possibility, or even a possibility, or even like a really pragmatic choice to create a different future and reality, then go and check out that page. And thank you so much, Susanna, for being on.
Oh, thank you, Katarina. Thank you for always feeding the wolf of possibilities.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to my podcast, Feeding the Wolf of Possibilities. I hope you have more space in your world now. If you would like to listen to earlier episodes, share with other people, or subscribe, please go to Spotify, iTunes, or visit katarinawallentin.com/wolf.